everyone. A very good evening, morning, and afternoon to all the people who joined today. It's Saturday, and I completely appreciate all your dedication to learning that even on a weekend, you all are joining over here. So, greetings for that, and thanks a lot for your continuous support that we are able to do these workshops for almost a year now. And I think this is somewhat a 35th or 36th workshop, and it's a pleasure to be connected to all of you. So there's one more thing that it's been more than a month, and since I hosted a workshop, Afi was taking care of it. Thank you, Afi. And I'm glad to be hosting this special one today. So before I move forward and introduce you with today's speaker and the workshop, I have a small surprise for all the attendees today towards the end. And this is the first time we are doing it, especially for the people who are attending the workshop. So stay tuned. Now, moving back to our workshop, today we have Lau. He's a senior UX designer at Intelli. He's also the head of design at Nomad with 25 years of experience working in the design industry. I think he has completely seen the industry evolving and reaching to the place where it is right now. He has worked as a web designer, digital marketer, user experience designer, and as a cherry on top, he's also a design mentor with his own mentorship program and a professor in some universities for more than 17 years. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get started.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here in this weekend. It's going to be a pleasure to chat with you today. I think that is more than a conversation than a workshop, but I'm very excited and very happy to be here sharing some things that I brought for you to this workshop. I'm going to share my screen right now. So, should we start? Let's go. Before we start, there's a Q&A section in your screen in the bottom. I think it's over or below your screen. You can ask your questions, and then in the end of this workshop, we will come back to answer them, right? So let's start. Prepare yourself for a UX job. Today, I would like to talk about why being strategic about your job search makes it easier to get up what you want. For a long time, I've been mentoring some UX designers and migrants and newbies, people that want to become UX designers, product designers, UX writers, and so on. And they always complain about how difficult it is to get a job in the field. And analyzing all the structure, all the assets, all the tools that those designers or wannabe designers they have at the moment, I started to notice some kind of pattern that they were not well prepared to applying for jobs, for job opportunities. So when I noticed that, I started to think, how could I help them get a very structured way of applying to jobs? So this is the main subject that we're going to talk today. And one thing that I designed to help people be well prepared for job opportunities. So what we're going to see in these workshops today, of course, the importance of planning. I know that sounds a little bit obvious, but how can we define planning when we are job searching, right? More preparation that you have, more confidence that you're going to have. This is, I think, the most important aspect when you are job searching, to have confidence to go to interviews, to have confidence to show your curriculum, to show your portfolio. So how can we get this confidence when applying to job? Why you are stuck in job searching? Sometimes I see a lot of people applying to hundreds of job opportunities and not even getting noticed by the recruiters, the hiring managers, because he's one more that it's applying. You're not standing out from other candidates. So, and you're going to be stuck in this applying for hundreds of jobs or hundreds of roles and not getting noticed. How can we go through this kind of position of getting stuck? Um, where your focus should be. Sometimes we focus a little too much in trying to have a perfect portfolio, trying to have a perfect interview, but it's not the case. And the preparation roadmap for you to start applying to these roles to get a boost for your career, right? So let's go. Look at these topics that it's on your screen right now. Is this familiar to you? Difficult to get a job? Have you been trying to get a job and it sounds like it's very difficult for you or for a friend that is a designer also? Um, and it's difficult, especially for juniors. No, I see a lot of complaints about I'm just getting into this field and it's very hard to get a job. And even though I have a great portfolio, even though I'm good in interview, my communication skills are good, it's very tough for me. I don't know what I'm missing. What are the companies expecting? Um, do you feel that you waste too much time trying to perfect your portfolio and it's a never-ending job, never-ending work? Every time you have to polish your portfolio to be perfect and to be outstanding and so on. Too much information. Someone say something for you, another one say another thing. A lot of information on the internet about getting a job, about interview tips, but you get lost in this ocean of information. Of course, it brings us to anxiety. We feel terrible because we're not getting the job position that we would like to, and this makes us crazy and tense, and of course, very anxiety. It's a very anxiety process. So you feel lost in all this process of getting your opportunity, and you start to compare your portfolio with other designers. Sometimes it's a senior designer or a very experienced designer is a very beautiful portfolio or perfect cases and a lot of good jobs that they did and they put it on their portfolio, and you start to compare yours with them and realize that you are very far from being at least reasonable for applying to to some job opportunities. Is it familiar for you? And how it should be, or how we would like to be? Imagine to know how to present your experience, even though you don't have an UX or a product experience, but you have a prior experience, um, how to present it in a better way for the recruiter, for the hiring manager, for other designers. Imagine, for example, you have confidence to go to the interviews and not being very afraid of what is going to happen on that interview. Imagine to have clarity to understand your purpose. Do you have one? Have you ever thought about it? And imagine being paid fairly for what you offer to the company. And imagine being ready for new opportunities that arrive on your LinkedIn uh, feed or by email, or someone tells you there's a job opportunity and that company, do you want to apply or something? Imagine be prepared, always ready for this job opportunity. This is the perfect path, right? So how can you move from this kind of problems to this kind of scenario. I would like to do an analogy with climbers. I bet every one of you knows what a climber is. It's someone that prepare yourself to go to the top of the mountain. So, um, what do you think? What climbers do to go to this kind of expeditions, to this kind of journeys? Of course, they get prepared, but what happens if the climber is not prepared for the expedition? It can be uh, very dangerous to go to the trying to go to the top of a mountain without the proper equipment, without a proper planning, without safety. So it's mandatory for the climbers to start thinking of his journey months, maybe years before he goes through this kind of adventure. As I said, what's really important to them? A well planning process. Of course, if he does not plan accordingly, maybe he will get lost or even be dead in the process. Equipment. Uh, it's very important for them to have the right equipment to go to this journey. It's not an is sometimes it's a very difficult and it's not a easy task to go to the top of a mountain. You're gonna find cold and you're gonna find a lot of rocks and it's not easy. So the right equipment it will make the journey easier for the climber. And of course, you have to think about safety because it's his life that is in the game. So, uh, as this is a very dangerous, uh, how can I say, dangerous game, dangerous profession, um, uh, it's important for them to think about safety. And one climber always helps the other one to go through the journey to the top of the mountain. Okay, this is a little bit obvious, but what about the designer's career? We're talking about climbers, but what does it has to do with the designer's career? I think that it's almost the same or very similar to when designers go through a job opportunity once wanting to apply to job opportunities. And the same questions apply for us today. What happens if the designer is not prepared for the job search? Anyone? Well, maybe he will not get the job that he wants to. Maybe he will be rejected in a lot of roles that he applied to. Maybe he won't be able to show all his experience, all his communication skills. Maybe he's not gonna be ready to interact with other designers, from people from his team, from hiring managers, recruiters, and so on. Well, thinking as designers, we always try to solve problems, the client's problems, with methodologies, with approaches. Um, and not being prepared for this, again, for the designer, it's going to be difficult to get a job, and especially for juniors and so on, as we talked before. As designers, we could think about our career just like this point A to point B strategy. So, have you ever thought where you want to be in the near future or for your next role? You are right now in your point E. Independent if you're a newbie, in your point A. Independent if you're a newbie or a designer or a designer or a migrant, someone that is starting this journey. you're in the base of the mountain. So you want to reach the point B. And between the point A and point B, we have a lot of touch points. We have a lot of paths, a lot of ways to go to the point B. Do you want to be a senior designer? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be an expert or CEO or um, a designer only to go to get into this role of a designer? Where you want to be in the near future? But we tend to think about only our next step. For example, being a senior designer, the next step, it's a lead designer or a manager. So you try to put your focus on being a lead designer or to be a manager and start to work or start to apply to job opportunities for this role. Well, it's okay to do this, but one thing that I always say to my mentees is that try to think 5 years ahead from now. Where do you want to be as a manager or, okay, as a senior designer, as a lead designer? And to get there, if you're a migrant or if you are a newbie, there are some steps in between. But working towards the senior designer role or a manager designer role, you can drive your career in the right path. You will start to build your hard skills, your soft skills to the right path, not to the next step and then rearrange all the things again to go to the next steps, one step at a time. Try to think some steps up front, and then you go adjusting your path to go there. So it's a planning of going to point A to point B. And I've noticed after a while that when you, as a designer, treat your career like a product, it's easy to succeed because we are used to do this for our clients. We have already built some case study or worked with clients that asked you to launch a product, a service, or something like this. So you are very used to have um, solutions, creative solutions for problems, for tough problems sometimes. So if you already have, or if you already know methodologies and approaches to solve problems, why not use this to solve your problem, to solve a problem that you have in job searching? So it's just connecting the dots of being a designer and all your toolbox that you have. Pick up some tools that you already have and try to solve this problem of getting a job, applying to the maybe the role of your dreams, right? Take a look at this design process. It's based on the Zendesk Triple Diamond. And I bet you had already heard about the double diamond design thinking approach, right? So thinking about this design process, what we as designers we do, we start in the discover part. It's the first half of the first diamond with divergent thinking, trying to understand the context that we have for a particular problem. And after a while, after researching, after using some methodologies, interviews with the users, um, we get some data. And this data, after a while, we go through a convergent thinking and start to compile some patterns and some information that is relevant for this project. And we comes to the defined part, and we have the problem statement between the first diamond and the second diamond. So as the problem is well stated, we start to create, we start to design. It's the ideation part where again we go through divergent thinking and try to generate as much solutions or possibilities we can for this problem that were stated. After this, we go again to convergent thinking, prototyping, testing with real users and getting a lot of feedback to validate the idea to see if it really is a good idea or not. So after this, after testing, we comes to the deliver part when we pick up all the assets, all the things that we build, and we hand off to the developers. And a lot of designers at this point, they think that they're done and move to another project or another challenge, but it's not to be like this. Since the development part starts, it's good for the designer to monitor and to be assured that we have a quality control of what he built prior to this phase. And then you manage deliver and you keep tracking of what's happening in the development part, and then you test again and you get more feedbacks, and then you go to the validation part and we roll out. So this triple diamond for me, it makes a lot of sense, of course, for the design rule, for the design process, but it makes sense also for us when we are in a job searching and a job searching task. So how this relates to the job searching task? We can use this design process for our career also. See, the first point, the first moment of the first diamond, we are in the mapping uh, part of the job search. We have to understand the context of who you are, which companies would you like to work with, and you have to be surrounded with data that give you the right understanding of your actual condition and how you can go through the point B, for example. So this is the first step, the first stage of the design process for your career, to map all the things that you have right now, all the tools, all the cases, all the things that you can build for your all your assets. Then when you come to the end of the first diamond, you have all your problems stated, and then you can start preparing for the next stage. So you're going to start working with your LinkedIn profile, your portfolio, all the cases, all the things that you have to write and to train, to communicate to the hiring managers and to the other designers and so on. So this is the second stage of preparing yourself to the climbing. That is the third stage. That is an analogy to climbers. And since you come to the climbing stage, you are ready to start applying to the job opportunities. So you have the MVP, your minimum viable product. That product is you. The product is your career. So as you reach this stage, you're going to start applying to a job opportunity, but not every job opportunity that you see on LinkedIn or other sites of job searching. You're gonna be very accurate in applying for some jobs that make sense for you, make sense for your career. And then, of course, you start following all the things that you do. When you apply for the job, you start monitoring it, and you see after a while that the uncertainty, it will decrease over time. And in the counterpart, the confidence increases over time. Why is it? Why does it happen? Because we're going to have a lot of feedbacks. Sometimes you apply to, I don't know, 15 opportunities, but they don't even give you a single email saying that you're gonna continue in the process or not. We don't have any update. So confidence start increases because when you ask for confidence, for feedback, they start to give you the path on where you should improve your skills, where you should be putting your attention on. So this is the basic design process for your career. Okay, so let's move. Okay, this is a kind of career expedition. This is a pyramid. It was supposed to be a mountain, but think of this as a mountain, right? So the three stages are the mapping. It's the base of this mountain. So then you move to preparing yourself and with all your assets and all the things that you have, and then you start climbing. When we go through this kind of mindset, it turns to be easier for you to apply to the right jobs and to have success in your appliances. So what is happening, what happens to the designers that start to apply without a proper planning, without thinking of this process of solving his own problem? They start in the middle of this pyramid. They start climbing, just applying for the vacancies with the portfolio that he's already have. He have to rebuild his portfolio, his case studies every time he applies for a job opportunity. And it's tough, it's hard, and you become very tired in doing this process all over again. So when you prepare correctly, it's not necessary anymore for you to have all this process from zero every time you apply for a job opportunity. So thinking of it, I started thinking about also what is really important to the designer. Of course, strategy, interface, and communication. You remember that what was important for the climber? Planning, equipment, and safety. So by analogy, I bring the strategy, the interface, and communication. Strategy because as much you become planned to do your job search, the better you can find the jobs that make sense, roles that make sense for you. Interface is like the equipment that you have for this climbing, for this job searching. That is your LinkedIn profile, that's your curriculum, that your resume, that's your portfolio, your cover letter, all the things that you need to be okay, need to be well planned for start applying. And of course, communication. Since you need to talk to people, to hiring managers, it's good for you to start doing this right from the beginning, trying to connect to the right person, uh, trying to think which company or this company is good for my career. So I will try to find someone in this company, or maybe talk to the hiring manager from this company to understand a little bit more about what is this role about, what are my responsibilities, and what does the company expect from the candidate. So communication part is a very important part also. And of course, you communicate also about who are you as a designer, um, how prepared you are, and if you were able to start working in that role that you aim in the first moment. So I noticed these three important things for the designer also: the strategy, the interface, and communication. And after this, I start to applying in some kind of framework that I named the career climbing expedition framework. And I joined and I combined the mapping, preparing, and the climbing stage with the strategy, the communication, and the interface concepts. And I, I came up with this graph that represents all the things connected. For example, here we have the strategy concept, and this represented this ball here, and the interface here, and the communication, of course, the intersection of the three concepts. When we get to the most of we can get, we were going to be prepared for climbing, to apply for the jobs, the roles, because we already have passed through the mapping stage to the preparing stage. And of course, it all starts with the mapping. It is the tangent here between the mapping phase with the strategy, the communication, and the interface is the beginning of it. And then from outside in, you start preparing yourself, getting a better portfolio, getting a better curriculum, and then we go again up and to the climbing stage. And in this part, you're gonna be with a very good strategy, with a clarity in your communication, and a very well interface or tools prepared for this climbing. So reaching the climbing stage here is what we aim to be to have success when applying for the job opportunities that we find or we aim for. So trying to understand a little bit more about this framework, uh, I built this actionable matrix that it's the tangible way of thinking about what I should do to get to uh, the climbing stage and be successful in searching the job that I want to and applying and get hired. So as you notice here, it's a process. So you're going to start in one mapping. And when I'm talking about mapping, I have to have in mind all the concepts for this stage of mapping, that is strategy, interface, and language. For example, in my mapping stage, which kind of strategy do I have to think of? Where I am now, what kind of designer you are, or are you trying to migrate to the designer to a designer role, but you are a psychologist, or you are an architect, or you already a designer, but you don't have so much experience, or you already have an experience as a designer, but you want to boost your career? Where are you now? And it doesn't matter where are you now, all this process will it serves for you too. And where you want to be. So what's the next steps for the next years? And it's good for you to write it down and have clarity about it. What companies are hiring? I mean, what kind of soft skills and hard skills they are hiring right now? What are they trying to say with those job descriptions that they put on LinkedIn and so on? Try to pick up some words or keywords in that job descriptions and try to compare what you have right now. Soft skills and hard skills. What kind of skills that you already have? And that's great because you can list it. And what kind of skills you must improve? So I think that for me, working with researching or interviews, it's not a good point. I think that I have to improve. So try to um, write it down, try to map it, and which skills you must acquire Oh, for example, to be a UX writer, of course, I have to be a very good storyteller. So, but I have never took a course about storytelling or never took a course about proper writing and so on, copywriting and something like this. So, um, which skills do you have to acquire in this journey? So mapping this, it will give you uh, more clarity about who you are right now and who you're gonna be in the future, in the near future. For the interface stage, um, concept, sorry. In the mapping stage, you have to take a look at your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn for me is it's the tool that it's the best tool for me to job search. Of course, uh, there are referrals and so on, but I think that for me, LinkedIn, it works really well. So how is your profile on LinkedIn? Is it complete? Do you have recommendations and so on? Cover letter. Some roles, some opportunities, they demand you to write a cover letter. So do you know how to write a proper cover letter for the job that you are aiming for? So the curriculum or the resume, how is it? Is it telling your experience in a proper way? It gives the sense of the experience that you have. So your curriculum, does it have your contact email or something? I have already seen curriculums and resumes without the candidate's contact, and it was tough. So your portfolio, does it have the experience that you acquired for the years that you've been working? Or does it reflect the mindset that you want to share, to you want to show to the hiring manager or other designers? um, they truly they don't give importance to the app itself, the solution itself. For the more important part to the designer, it's how you think, it's your way of thinking and how to solve the problem. So this is what they are very they give importance of. In terms of language, this concept, what do you mean about language? Insights, storytelling, outcomes, and list of users to get feedback. So it's communication. It's how you communicate your work, the way that you communicate it with storytelling, things that you say to hiring managers, things that you say to other designers, and how you show them your mindset, how you show them the way if you are able or not to work as a designer. So this is the first stage of mapping that relates to the base of the mountain. Since you get this uh, well done, or at least uh, that makes sense to what you want to be in the near future, you can advance to the next stage. But I'm gonna bring some examples here of mapping and strategy, interface and language. Um, what I do with my mentees is I try to ask them to map uh, all the skills that he already had and the skills that they need to improve or to acquire. So this is a Notion table that I map the skills. For example, the status here, I put all the skills that I need to work on a semester, for example. For example, here, advanced Figma, motion design, meditation. It's not only the hard skill, but soft skills also. And trying to understand a little bit more about UX and agile and these skills. And what type of are they? For example, advanced Figma is a hard skill, motion design is a hard skill, meditation is a soft skill, and if I have to acquire or to improve, so advanced Figma, I have to improve. Motion design, I don't have the skill, I have to acquire it. And how I'm gonna do it? For example, in YouTube channels, I will improve my learning of Figma, working on Figma, and motion design tutorials, meditations, daily habit, and so on. So I start to list all the skills that I must work on and put it this Notion table with, of course, a end date for this to have it complete. And as soon as I complete these tasks, I just click on the check box here, and I can follow up about all the skills that I need to improve or acquire. Of course, these skills that I list here, they should be based on the skills you need to reach the next level and the skills companies announce in their job descriptions. So you can you can list all those skills that you see on the job descriptions and the skills that you think it makes sense for you, and start to list them in this table for you to follow up. Another thing, for example, LinkedIn profile. Try to fill it the best you can, the most with the most information that you can. Um, About section is very important. You have to write something to the people that are reading your profile to understand uh, what it's all about, what kind of work you do, and what kind of work you want to do, and the experience. Try to list all the most important experience that you had in your career if you're a migrant. For example, I am an architect, and but I don't have any kind of experience as an architect in my LinkedIn profile because it does not make sense for the UX community. But because I'm an architect, I just understood that since then, uh, long years ago, I've been working with the user. So as an architect, I was a user experience designer also, because all the things that I designed it as an architect was the same, almost the same process that I designed today for the projects for the companies in UX design field. So skills that you have, recommendations. Recommendations is also a thing that's very important in LinkedIn profile. As much as you have, the better. So they are all sections in your profile that are important. So try to fill them and try to have them uh, well connected, aligned with the planning part to know what kind of designer you want to be, what kind of role you want to be in some years from now. The second stage is preparing. So how does strategy, interface, and language can help here to go to this stage? Since you already mapped all the things, you go to the preparing stage, you can think about courses, mentorships, and workshops and real cases. Um, all these things, for example, courses, why not, and I mean it, why not trying the ProApp with the courses? When I'm thinking about mentorships also, a mentor will help you to go to the path that you aim in a short period of time. So he's gonna it's gonna be easier for you if you have someone beside you and holding your hand and trying to give all the information that you want to go through this process in a fast way. Okay, you can attend workshops like this one. The ProApp community have a lot of fantastic workshops. and you can watch them and try to work in real cases. If you don't have one because you are a beginner, try to pick some uh, opportunity near you, a business that is in the corner of your home, and try to give them the possibility to have a work in your user experience design for free, just for you to have a real case, real client in your portfolio. Talking about interface, um, you're going to improve the LinkedIn profile, your cover letter, the portfolio, not only mapping, but now you have to improve based, of course, in your strategy mapping. So where you wanna be and which skills that you have. So try to have this in mind. You listed it, and then you improve all your tools, all your interface tools that you have. You must have to applying for the jobs. And in terms of language, the preparing phase is to start branding yourself in a consistent way, and try to show your value proposition. So in this part, I'm going to bring some examples here. Uh, you can define a style guide for your communication, for example, color palette and the, the typology that you're going to use, try to a mood board for you to understand a little bit more about which things related to your career, what things relates to the designer you are. And this is some kind of example that I brought to me, mountains and climbers and boots and the color palette, and to be consistent when you communicate. As you have already noticed, I did the analogy this for this workshop to climbers. It was not for free. I mean, it was something that I use to all my mentorships and all the things that relates to my brand, to my value proposition. And this is the value proposition that I use. It is only an example for you to understand a little bit more. My surname is Yamazaki. It's Lau Yamazaki. Yamazaki means top of the mountain in Japanese. So when I got this insight many years ago, and then I start to bring this Yamazaki concept to the work that I do, to the type of designer, the type of mentor that I want to be. So Yamazaki means top of the mountain in Japanese, and each person has challenges in their life to reach their own top. Uh, to achieve this goal, you need to prepare, plan, and study the way so you don't get lost. All the things that we have already talked about, climbing a mountain, so on. This is not easy. It takes time, focus, resilience, and devotion. And here comes my value proposition. My purpose is to help people and companies on their journey to the top. And each time I do so, I get closer to the top of my mountain. So helping people, helping companies to get to their top of their mountains. It's a value proposition that I offer. And every time I do so, I get, of course, closer to the top of my mountain. So this is only an example of branding, of consistency in the communication. The third stage is climbing. So thinking about strategy, interface, and language. What you have here, we have applying to roles that are aligned with values and skills. So in the climbing stage, you are already uh, applying to the vacancies, to the job opportunities. So since you have prepared, since you have mapping all the things, you have the clarity to understand what kind of skills do you have and what kind of roles are aligned to what you are or do you want to be. So try to filter all the vacancies that you see to the ones and pick up the ones that make sense for your career. So try to apply only to these roles. You can now customize for each role you apply, but not, of course, from ground zero. Your LinkedIn, your cover letter, It's much easier when you have a base, it's ready to customize for the roles that you are applying for. And in terms of language, um, of course, connect with people that relates with your purpose, and hiring managers, designers, people that can uh, gives you the clue of what is important to apply for some for that company. So people that will help you in this journey, in this expedition of climbing to the vacancies that are important for you, right? So you've already completed when you come to the mapping, preparing, and climbing stage, and you ended it. You complete all the things you need to applying in the right way for the jobs that you want to. Of course, based on what you already planned before and how you prepared before. Another example here, when you search for roles that are aligned to your proposal, try to take a look in, this is a LinkedIn job opportunity, the minimum qualifications, the preferred qualifications, all the things that they announce in this job description, and think of the keywords that you can pick from this description, and they become your skills, the skills that you want to improve or you already have or you want to acquire. Pay attention to the qualifications, company's culture and statistic. Uh, if you are a premium member in LinkedIn, you have a lot of statistics. And regarding company's culture, when you talk to someone that's already worked there, it's easy to understand a little bit more about the culture of the company, and you see if it's aligned with your needs, and if you want to, if you think it's interesting to work with that company. Contact, don't be shy, contact the recruiter to know more about the role. And as I said, you can contact someone that's already working in the company to, of course, present yourself, to ask for a referral, and show you're interested in working there, and ask some questions on what the company expects from candidates, and from a designer, from a product designer, and so on. Another thing that I do is, in the process of monitoring all the job opportunities that I apply for, is to document all the process. I use this Trello, and I suggest it to to my mentees also, to use a Trello board to follow up in which stage you are in that when you apply to job opportunities. So it's important for you to document all the applications, follow up all the process, have all the information about that opportunity in a very organized way, so you can go back even if you already hired, to understand what went wrong, what went well in that interview, or what kind of feedbacks that you had from the recruiters to improve. Always ask feedbacks after you go through a process. uh, Sometimes, not sometimes, but the most times, you will be rejected, and even if you're rejected, ask them, please give me some feedback about my process, the this my as a candidate. How can I improve? Which skills do you think that I need to acquire or improve? What went wrong in my interview? So trying to get this feedback that is important for you to map if this, and then improve, of course, and try to be uh, very open to all the critics and all the things that they say. Don't take it personally, but try to think that the person is analyzing you as a professional, not as a person. So try to get all the feedbacks that you can from all the process that you participate. So the Trello board, you have some columns here that applied jobs, the in process jobs, the current job that you, the present position that you are, or rejected, rejected and feedbacks. This is the, for me, is the most important column because it brings you all the things that you need to improve, previous experience that you had, what went wrong, what went well, and so on. This is a gold mine for me because it is the mapping, the roadmap to understand your improve and how you get better as a designer, as a professional. Of course, the black hole is the vacancies that you apply for and you don't even get a single email in response. Okay, so when you achieve all this matrix, when you fill out this matrix, you 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 start to be prepared to apply for all the jobs. Of course, as an MVP thinking, you can start right now and improve in the way that the time goes by, and you're going to improve all the things. But it's good for you to be successful. To, if you want to be successful applying for the jobs, try to get this actionable matrix and this concept of strategy, interface, and language. Think of them together, combining, and the stages of mapping, preparing, and climbing. When you feel this table, you're going to be more prepared, you have more confidence to apply for the jobs. Try to show all the things that you build to another designer, to a friend of yours, to a mentor, to someone that can help bringing you the best of you to the material that you need to build, to apply to the jobs, right? So I think that this is the, of course, a part of the hiring process, part of the preparation to climb your own mountain. And I hope that this little tips here can help you be prepared, more confidence, and at least have a clear, more clarity in what things you must focus on the first moment to be prepared for the job searching, right? So I would like to thank you. For me, it was a very happy moment to have you here. And I see that we have a lot of questions here in the chat and the Q&A. We can start trying to answer your questions. And of course, here's my email. You can mail me anytime you want, and my LinkedIn profile, so we can connect. Please feel free to connect and let's chat. Let's be in contact as you want to. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm gonna come back here, stop sharing, and come back to the.
Hey, Lau, I
Okay.
think it was a very, very amazing session. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for it. And I specifically like the part where you mentioned that climbing your own mountain, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like your own mountain. You cannot,
Yeah.
you can just get influence or get motivated from others, but you cannot climb somebody else's mountain. You have to climb your own. So I
Yes.
really like that analogy, and how, you know, you taught to build your value proposition, right? And
Mhm.
that too was referring to how to, you know, prepare and climb the mountain. So I think this is something new I learned today, and I'm very grateful that I was able to host this workshop for you.
Oh, I feel happy about this, Tashika. Thank you very much.
Cool. Okay, so there's one question from Rahul. He's asking, like, do we need to have a degree to get a job at companies like Microsoft and Google?
No, the short answer, no. What you need to is to let them be aware that you have all the tools, the mindset to work with them, that you can solve problems in a creative way. So the degree, I think it's not important at the moment. But of course, if you have it, show it.
Right. Okay. So the other one is like, what does recruiter really want from entry level UX designers? As in, apart from the projects they have, but I think it
Uh,
stands for all the designers, basically.
yes, yes. The most important thing that recruiters, when you apply for a job, recruiters, they tend to understand if you are able or not to fill that job opportunity. So soft skills, if you have the if you are aligned with the culture of the company, and I think that's the most important thing. If you are able or not, if you have the requirements of the job description that they put on LinkedIn, for example. So this is the thing that they aim when talking to you as a candidate.
Right. Okay. The other one is a straightforward. Do hiring managers care about courses?
Only if this course it's related to the keywords that they put in job description. So if in the job description you have, for example, motion design uh, skills, if you have a course in motion design, they do care about it. And so it's important for them to associate the things that you show with the job description. That's how they see if you're able or not. Of course, after the hiring manager, you're going to talk to the designers, to the team, and they are going to technically see if you were able or not to fill the vacancy. But for the hiring manager that sometimes don't understand much more about design and so on, they want to connect the dots. Oh, there's a course here about motion design, and in my job description, I have motion designer as a keyword. So as they connect the dots, for them, it's important.
Right. I think the hiring managers are quickly scanning around 100 to 200 resumes every day. So
Yes.
sometimes it get necessary, or it lines in your favor if there's a course or there's a certificate that you have learned online. So at
Yes.
least it gets easy to clear that first round to get into the picture.
Yes. Right. That's right.
Cool. Okay. So did you employ a graphic designer to Lal?
Did you employ graphic designer to Lau Yamazaki? What do you mean Lau Yamazaki as a company?
I am
If
not
I
sure.
employ graphic designer, depends. If I have a role that needs graphic designers, a lot of my mentees, they come from the graphic design uh, world. You know, they when they migrate from graphic design to UX design. So I had already employed a lot of graphic designers in my career in my company, but not today. I'm not employing. I don't have a job opportunity now. But if you are a graphic designer, you want to send me your curriculum or something, I'll take a look, of course.
Okay. So what is the kind of mindset uh, that companies like Google and Microsoft expect, as in what is the difference between their expectation and the other companies from Microsoft and Google and the other companies?
Yeah, especially from Google. I think that the mindset that they are looking for is someone that can solve problems in a creative way. So the hiring process uh, in companies like Google, Apple, Oracle, and so on, and Microsoft also, it's a long process. You go through a lot of conversation, and sometimes, um, no, not sometimes, every time you go, for example, for some exercise, they some challenges they give to you for you to solve, and they are looking to someone that connects with their culture, but especially the mindset of solving problems in a creative way. Um, the difference between these companies and other companies, I think that the big companies, is that the hiring process. are not so intense. We don't go through a lot of interviews. Sometimes you do this remotely, and because of that, it does not mean that the hiring process from Google is better from another company, or it's a different kind of hiring process. And of course, the thing is, you have to be prepared for Google, for Apple, or for XYZ company. You as a professional, as a candidate, you have to be prepared. So as you are prepared, it doesn't matter if it's company, it's a Google, it's Apple or Oracle or Amazon or so on.
Okay, so there's one more from an anonymous attendee. It's one thing as a fresher you should not do in your resume or in your portfolio while applying for a job.
One thing as a fresher you should not do in your resume, in your portfolio when applying for a job. uh, you never at any circumstances should lie. So never lie in an interview, never lie in your resume, never lie in your portfolio. If it's not a real client, if it's a case study you did in a boot camp, just let them know. Be more transparent as you can, because I think that uh, it's good to be honest in all the parts of all the tools that you're going to present, your portfolio and resume and so on. So never lie. This is the thing that it's the most important thing to not to
Okay,
do.
right. I think that is something which is like sooner or later the company is gonna identify, right? During once you
Yes,
start working. So it's better to not lie and first learn those skills, acquire those skills, and then move forward and mention
yes,
that.
yes.
Right.
That's why preparation is good, and you map in all the things, so you have time to apply in the future, but try to improve or acquire the skills that you need for that job opportunity.
But how about that fake it till you make it? Like people are going through that.
I don't like this kind of fake it till you make it. It's for skills in a job interview, a job search. I don't think it works well.
Right. Okay. So there's one more question. So the person has a 10 years experience as a graphic and a web designer. How how does it help to apply for UX designer? Like, does it help to apply for UX design?
You have 10 years experience as a graphic designer and web designer. Okay. Just before I went to the UX design world in 2008, 2009, I was web designer. My company was about web design. So I brought all the experience that I had in my company as a web designer to the UX designer world. So try to relate the works that you previously did as a UX designer, and try to put this in the UX perspective, and show, of course, a case study that you have a previous experience in web design, and how this experience relates with the design process for the UX or product design. So as a UX designer, you went through interviewing users, you went through getting a brief, um, sketching the interfaces before you start working on Photoshop or other uh, Adobe Illustrator or something like this. So try to relate the design, the process that you did previously in your past experience with the UX design process, and you can show them saying, "Oh, this is what it is a web design case study, but it relates to the design process like this," and then you can show how you think about how you solve the problems in a UX design perspective. So you can bring your previous experience. It's good for you to bring the previous experience to the
Mm,
table in this moment.
right. Okay. What does an entry level UI UX designer do?
It depends on the vacancy, but it depends of also on the company. Some companies expect from you to hit the ground running, and other companies prepare you for the role. So it's good for the junior UX designer at least to understand a little bit about the double diamond approach to research, to compile this data, to understand this data that you pick from the research, the interviews with the users, and to have a problem statement, and to sketch and to prototype a little bit. So of course, not in a very deep way, a very uh, senior way, but they expect in the majority, they expect you to understand the process and how you can learn during the process as a junior designer, how you can ask for help for the senior designers, and start to being self independent in the process of designing.
Right. Okay. So, how do you get over imposter syndrome?
It's tough. It's very tough. Rahul, Rahul, right?
Right.
It's something that it goes all along your career. It doesn't matter if you are a junior, a senior, a manager. All the time, you think about the imposter syndrome. You're never satisfied. You don't think you are prepared for a new role or a new challenge. But with time, with confidence, I mean, with experience, you notice that the imposter syndrome is something that goes to your mind because you compare yourself with other designers, with other professionals. And that's something that it cannot stop you from applying for new challenges. It cannot stop you, it stops you from learning every day. So this is something that I wrote in my about section in LinkedIn. Learning every day is my mantra. So if you learn every day, if you um, really don't mind about the imposter syndrome, that you're gonna feel it all along your career. Uh, just go and do what you have to, and be aware that this imposter syndrome is something that it's your mind that's creating, but it cannot stop you. It's just like fear, it's just like anxiety, it's just like bad thoughts. It's gonna happen all the time, but it cannot stop you from move forward.
Climb your own mountain. Specifically, there are gonna be hurdles, but
Yeah,
towards the end, you're gonna
yeah,
have to climb it. Okay. So, okay, this is a really big one. By Shrushti, it says, "How do we reach that level of self satisfaction where we stop planning and preparing and start applying?" I understand that Triple Diamond talks about this, the last part. Could you please elaborate a bit more on how to mentally push ourselves and be confident to just getting started?
yeah. Great question,
Shrushti,
Srusti.
right?
Srusti. Um, it's really tough to know just in the beginning. For example, when you're a junior, you don't know if it's enough or not to start applying. That's why I imagine this career climbing expedition framework, just to people understand that with that table, that matrix, if you feel all the things that you want to feel, you can begin applying. Um, Self-satisfaction to start applying, uh, you never have. So when you think that it's an MVP, it's something that you already have. You have a good portfolio, with at least 2 or 3 cases that you can show, or even one case that it's well written, well well described. If you have a resume that shows all your experience, if you have a LinkedIn profile that is filled with most of the sections, if you have one or two recommendations, at least something that can show to the hiring manager that you are active and you are you want to be a designer. If you have this minimum viable product, you can start applying, and of course with the feedbacks that you have from the people that you ask for help, you are going to improve. But as soon as you have all the minimum that you saw in the matrix, you can start applying. And of course, try to, before applying to the real job opportunity, try to ask to someone, some other designer, a friend, a family member, or someone that can see the material that you produce it, if it's okay, and try to collect the feedback. So it's the same as design process. Now, if you have a product, a minimal product, a viable product with some features, try to test it to see if the user can go through the flow and understand all the things that the product does, and you collect feedbacks and improve it. The same as your career, try to collect the feedbacks, but as soon as you get all the map that I showed you, the matrix that I showed you with the minimum tools and the minimum understanding of what professionals you want to be, what kind of vacancy, what kind of job opportunity you want to fill. So it's the time for you to apply.
Right. Okay. I'll take, there's a very big question in the chat section. So I'll take one from there.
Mhm.
So it's from Anjali. She says she's a fine art qualification long ago, and she's been working in web designing and development, but she's willing to elevate her career to UX, but finding very hard to get that push, as all her past experiences in the old way method. And she's not able to keep
Right.
up with the new design trends, basically that. And so how can she restart a career in UX now?
Mhm. Um, you've been already working in web designing and development, right? Um, there are a lot of things that relates with the web designing and development, as I said before, to the UX. Again, try to, I know that's very hard to get that push, but try to connect all the things that you have already done with the UX design process, and let just be clear that it was a UX, it was a web designing and development. All those experience that you have, they are important for the manager to, or the designer, that it's the designer that's that's hiring, to understand that you have the mindset. Uh, as you said, design, web designing and development, the mindset of solving the problems are very similar. So as you can think that you are starting from ground zero to the UX design role, try to construct one case, or try to solve one problem and bring it, the experience that you had, how could you solve this problem with the mindset that you have with web design, and try to relate it with the UX designing, how you can solve now with your mindset, which kind of learnings you have from applying the approaches from UX design process, and comparing to the approaches that you had when you worked with web development and web designing and so on. Trying to do this kind of going forth, going back from the previous experience is good, and maybe this is the key for you to translate, or to migrate from old mentality. It's not that old, but old process to the new process of designing things.
I
I don't
think
know if I
design itself is so new, and it's not new, as in it's evolving continuously. So sometimes it gets difficult to be on the top of the trends and how things are changing. uh,
Yes, yes, for
it's
sure.
not right. But I think because every time I open Dribble or Behance, or like, I mostly work in marketing and content, so sometimes I have to go and look, you know, to keep my team up to date with the new design trend. So I myself get confused, like what to start, what to focus. Then I take help from the other team members. I sit down and I realize, okay, ultimately you have to formalize something of your own, take the inspirations and create something unique which works for us.
Yeah. One thing that's it's going to accelerate your process is just because you have a lot of, as I showed before, it's a lot of information, a lot of reference, but you start to compare yourself with the
Right,
others. So
right.
try to compare yourself with yourself. The tomorrow you, it has to be better than the today you, and your today you. You can bet it's better than the yesterday you. So when you compare with yourself only, and of course, a lot of information. Where do I start? Pick one thing and improve this one thing, then check it. After that, pick another thing and check it. And in a 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you're gonna see if if you document your improvement,
Journey, right.
you're gonna see how you improved along the time that you were focused only on you. Of course, you're gonna see Behance portfolios. You're gonna see other portfolios of other designers, but try to compare with you and improve yourself, and soon you become the designer that you want to be.
Cool. I think we can take two more questions. One
Okay.
is again from the anonymous attendee. It says, thanks, Lau. I want to ask, what is the most important question you ask the fresh designer in the interview to make you know if he or she fits well for the position or not?
The most important question that I asked the designer. Okay. Um, it depends on the type of the role, but it depends, of course, in which company I am at that moment that I'm doing the interview. But I like to do some kind of questions that can shows how he thinks about solving the some kind of problem. Sometimes I ask something like, which was the failure that impact you as a designer. I mean, which was your best failure? I mean, the failure that you remember to today. And it gives me the idea, of course, because sometimes the candidate says, well, I don't remember to fail in any project, or and this one is, I think it's not even possible. Everybody fails, and this gives me the idea that the designer, the candidate, it's humble enough to understand that he can fail and he will continue to fail, and the learnings that it picked from this experience. So I think that which failure impacted you most um, is one question that gives me a very good understanding of how this designer think about the process, thinks about the failures and the success, and how can he can manage all the daily failures that we are successive to.
Right. Okay. So, how to stand out on the job interview as a junior UX designer?
Being a junior UX designer, you have to show that you are a junior UX designer, that you are very eager to learn, very eager to start working, and that you are curious, and that you understand the minimum of the process of designing, that you have to research, you have to understand that you have a problem to state, that you can collaborate with other peers. So um, try to show them that you are able to collaborate, to um, learn every day. And I think that this is the mindset that the designers and the hiring managers seek in a candidate as a junior.
Okay. The last question for
Okay.
today is comparative analysis be added advantage for the portfolio?
Yes, yes, uh, because it shows that you are researching, that you are thinking in a business level. As a designers, we tend to think about the user-centered design, the user in the first moment, the user in the first time, the user dictates all the things. Okay, it's good to think about this, but you you have to think also in the business layer. So when you balance the user-centered design with the business needs, the company that you are working on, so it's the best way to show that you were a designer that's prepared to work in the market, because uh, it's no good for you to have the user-centered design but business not in a profit flow, or even the contrary, you're only thinking about the money in the business layer, and the user-centered design, it's not you're not paying attention to it. So when you balance all these layers, thinking about the user but thinking also about the business, um, you get the best context for you as a designer. And yes, when you comparative analysis is good because you shows that you can think about in the business layer.
Right. Awesome. So I think there were a lot of questions, and all questions are very different, and they shared a very unique and different perspective. I think thank you so much, Lau, for connecting with us today and helping people traverse their way to in whatever path they are in their careers. I think they've learned so much. And anyone, if we have missed any questions, you can connect with Lau. We have already shared the LinkedIn profile, and he'll be able
Yes.
to help you out. And when I connected with Lau, I got a very personalized and very sweet message. Thank you for that. I think that's what everyone should do. Uh, Thank you so much for that. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I think let's do this again on part two. One more part on this
Okay,
particular final.
feel free to call me anytime you want.
Right.
Thank you very much for everybody that was here. Okay, feel free also for you that have questions to connect with me on LinkedIn or in my email, and feel free to connect. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here today.
Same here. Okay, one last thing. I told that there's gonna be a small surprise for everyone. So it's like we are running a 95% discount for on lifetime on ProApp. So we are coming up with new modules and trying to keep our workshops free, uh, for everyone, so that we can motivate more people to join. We are coming up with design challenges. I'm sharing the link in the chat. Save it and open it later. Um, it's only valid for 24 hours. Thank you so much. And thank you, Lau. Let's hope to connect again. Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.